The life of the conspiracy theorist. Hey, it's Prince of Queens, and due to the stuff about CNN and the Florida teenage anti-gun activists, there's been a lot of talk about conspiracy theories in the news. And thus, as a seasoned veteran in that game, I figured I might as well tell people what it's like to be a conspiracy theorist. Mainly, everybody calls you crazy until what you said would happen ends up coming true, and then they'll likely simply pretend like they never called you crazy, as if, it just didn't happen. Oh yeah, we were mocking you 3 months ago, and now we're gonna act like we didn't, but we'll never admit that we mocked you or apologize. Or worse, simply they'll just continue to call you crazy, as if you being right about what you predicted doesn't matter. They'll basically act like you were still somehow wrong about what you were saying, despite the fact that your prediction totally came true, as if to imply that the only reason it ended up coming true was pure coincidence. That's how it tends to go. So if you're going to dabble in conspiracy theories, don't expect to get some great payoff. People will believe the evidence only when they see it, and often, even after the evidence has already been shown, people will still choose not to believe something that everybody else believes in. Thus, when you are somebody that has the intellectual curiosity and insight to figure out certain patterns and then can accurately predict certain things ahead of time, almost nobody is ever going to thank you for your prediction. The life of the conspiracy theorist has an actual ancient archetype going back to the Greeks, who goes by the name of Cassandra. She is cursed with being able to tell people of true prophecies, but when she tells them, she'll never be believed. Conspiracy theorists often go through similar experiences, in that they are good at predicting the moves of those they come up with conspiracy theories about. But it's almost maybe a bit more frustrating to be a conspiracy theorist than somebody that can simply see into the future. You see, if you're a good conspiracy theorist, you don't have to see into the future. You can figure out what is going on currently based on selective pieces of circumstantial evidence, and thus, it's even more frustrating when people won't listen to you, because you can tell them exactly what to look at for them to see what you're talking about, but they usually won't look. See Gamergate. And what all the gamers were saying. Nobody would listen to them. Everybody said that they were crazy internet conspiracy theorists for pointing out that Anita Sarkeesian and Zoe Quinn were up to something. Here's what conspiracy theorists do. First, you make a hypothesis for yourself, which hopefully will happen organically. Because if you have to go searching for conspiracy theories super actively, you're probably going to give yourself mental problems if you don't already have them. Regardless, first you notice something strange happening and you ask yourself, why does this keep happening? You come up with a working hypothesis about who is behind it, what motive they have, and how exactly they are able to execute this conspiracy. That's just the hypothesis part, of course, and those are relatively easy to come up with. However, once you have formed your hypothesis, you generally have to wait for more evidence to come forward, or find more evidence, that either further confirms or disproves your hypothesis. Often you'll find that you'll end up being wrong about something or other, so you might have to scrap the whole thing. So it's also good not to really talk about all of your hypotheses if you think in those terms, because eventually, you're going to embarrass yourself if you talk too much about it. But also eventually, the patterns you had observed will repeat enough times that you'll feel confident that you have enough evidence to support one of your claims, and then you can start telling people about it. Kind of like I did with the blog Everyday Feminism. Watch my videos. Now, will people call you crazy? Absolutely. Will you be wrong sometimes about feeling confident about something enough to talk about it and then you were just wrong? Undoubtedly, you will do that a few times. However, will you be right sometimes? Well, if you're good at it, you will be. But ultimately, if you're the type of person that thinks in these terms, I don't think anybody is going to be able to stop you from thinking like this. That being said, the internet has amplified our ability for people to form conspiracy theories to such a ridiculous degree that it's hard for me to contemplate the concept of pre-internet conspiracy theorists all that much, though I know that they have existed for quite some time. Although I keep my conspiracy theories or conspiracy hypotheses to a relative minimum in my videos, and I always admit the limits to my knowledge very distinctly, if you actually talk to me for any extended period of time, you'll learn that I always have all sorts of hypotheses going around in my head basically at all times. By the way, remember that I offer $50 private hangouts if you're interested in talking to me. I'm not sure how I got this way. Probably some combination of genetics, the way I was raised with a largely very two-faced, dishonest, and manipulative family, and the fact that I studied playwriting as my major in college, which is an art form distinctly composed of figuring out the most logical ways that people might interact with each other and then writing a story composed entirely around making personal interactions believable to an audience. At this point in my life, I like to tell people, only semi-jokingly, everything sounds like a conspiracy theory until you start to actually understand politics. Because, to be truthful, that much should basically be common sense to absolutely anybody who is at all intelligent in any way and really does pay careful attention to politics and reads both left and right news stories. But of course, most people don't pay attention to politics, and they get really uncomfortable when you start bringing this type of stuff up. Likely not because they legitimately think it sounds like baloney, but more so, they probably start to become paranoid when what you are saying actually ends up making sense. And they don't like feeling paranoid. You see, very few people can delve down the rabbit hole of successfully investigating into conspiracy theories without either wanting to never think about it again or actually having a mental breakdown. At this point in my life, I am pretty good at not getting as worked up as I did in my early 20s. And believe you me, when you start asking questions that people don't want answered, there will almost certainly be people trying to get you worked up, hoping that you'll lose your cool so that they can discredit you as some sort of conspiracy wacko. That's one of the favorite tactics I've always come across when people are trying to say that I'm wrong about something that I'm right about. They just try to call me crazy, and then they try to maybe make me go crazy or something. And it's like, okay, it's not gonna work. And yeah, it's kind of funny. And I see them doing it to other people, and it kind of really makes me mad when I can follow what the other person's talking about, and then there's clearly just some other person trying to egg them on and seemingly get them to gaslight them is what it is, making them doubt their own sanity. And yeah, it's messed up because, you know, the world needs conspiracy theorists. We would never, it's basically the art of being a political detective, really. Still, eventually, if your mind works in such a way, you'll start to accept that you can simply see certain things that other people don't see. And you make certain connections that other people don't necessarily pick up on, and you learn how to spot other people that can do such things, and sometimes you can become friends with them. And if you practice, you can do all of it calmly. That being said, I'm going to go off the grid for about 3 or 4 days where I will barely be checking social media. If you found some of my political theories or predictions interesting, especially the ones that ended up coming completely true, then I'd highly appreciate a tip for my troubles. Times are rough. Also, I'm looking for some new avatar art in the style of Prince Ashitaka from Princess Mononoke. A little bit of an adaptation of his drawing, maybe give it a beard and some glasses. Email me if you are interested, and show me your art, of course, so I can know if I'm interested in your art. And I guess that's all. See you in a few days.